Good evening and welcome to our District 30 Math Parent Night. My name is Carrie Obradovich and I am the Math and Science Coordinator for District 30 Kindergarten through 8th grade. I'd like to introduce to you my colleague, Kristen Chaffee. She is our new K-5 Math and Science Specialist. I'm going to turn it over to Kristen and she's going to talk about our goals for this evening.
Our first goal for tonight is to provide a brief overview of Common Core state standards. Then we're going to share information about the District 30 math resources, our number corner, which focuses on calendar in grades K through 2, and Math in Focus for grades K through 5. In addition, we're going to be sharing strategies all of you can utilize at home to help your child in math. Let's begin by talking about the Common Core state standards. The standards clearly communicate what is expected of students at each grade level. Standards focus on core conceptual understandings and procedures starting in the early grades, providing teachers the time needed to teach fewer core concepts, giving students the opportunity for concept mastery. As you can see, the content standards and mathematical practices overlap. The standards for mathematical practice outline how students go about doing the math. They are skills which students should utilize on a daily basis, regardless of the content being taught. In other words, they should be embedded into daily math instruction rather than taught in isolation. These are the standards for mathematical practice. Let's choose a content standard and then find a practice standard it's linked to. We'll focus on grade 5 content standard, geometry, classify two-dimensional figures into categories based on their properties. So, for example, all rectangles have 4 right angles, and squares are rectangles, so all squares have 4 right angles. A practice standard that this is linked to would be construct viable arguments and critique the reasoning of others. So what does this mean? Students excelling in this area understand and use stated assumptions, definitions, and previously established results in constructing arguments. They make conjectures and build a logical progression of statements to explore the truth of those conjectures. They are able to analyze situations by breaking them into cases and can recognize and use counterexamples. Breaking down the practice standards further, you can see that each one falls under a bigger umbrella. These include habits of mind, reasoning and explaining, modeling and using tools, and seeing structure and generalizing. As you can see, the practice standard we were just referring to is included under the reasoning and explaining umbrella.
Although fact fluency isn't a specific content standard in the Common Core or a specific practice standard, we do value fact fluency. Why is fact fluency so important? Well, it is important to be fast and accurate. Think about reading. Reading is to make meaning of written words. The goal is not to necessarily pronounce the words, but if one struggles with decoding words, one has difficulty making meaning. The same might be said in math. The goal of math is to really learn concepts and be able to apply knowledge to problem solve. The goal is not to be able to regurgitate math facts. However, if one is not proficient in their math facts, it can be difficult to learn the higher level skills being taught. Therefore, we're really hoping and emphasizing that students work on their fact fluency at home, and we're looking for your support in this. One way you can do this is to visit our school website for practice. If you go to www.district30.org and then you can go to your school's homepage, Willowbrook or Westcott, and then if you click on the About tab and look under Student Resources, you'll see a link called Math Links. And if you click on that link, you'll see that we have a whole list of math fact websites you can go to practice at home with your child. Specifically, one of the ones that we use is Math Facts in a Flash at Home. Your students will need login information that you can get from your child's teacher. But there are also lots of other great sites here to practice your facts. We encourage you to have your students practice at home. You can allow them to choose fun sites that they like, You could also have students maybe pick some free apps to play on the iPad or iPhone and involve them in the process. Some teachers and parents like to have students do a math log and work towards an incentive. But these are all great ways that you can practice your math facts. So if you click on Math Facts in a Flash at home, as you can see, you're prompted for a username and password. The other sites are free sites. The remainder of the evening will be spent talking about our two core curriculum resources, Math in Focus and Number Corner. Math in Focus is our core curriculum resource used during students' math block each day. Number Corner is a calendar component that's used either during a morning routine or during a specific calendar time in grades K2. Let's begin by talking for a minute about Number Corner. Number Corner is currently being implemented in grades kindergarten through second grade. Number Corner is a mathematically rich skill-building program designed to transform the classroom into an interactive learning community. If you visit your child's classroom, you will see a calendar-looking type item in the corner that's very mathematically rich, as you can see from our picture. The students will utilize the calendar to have opportunities to reason, collaborate, critically think, and confront challenges with peer mathematicians. Through these exciting conversations, students will build mathematical habits and mathematical skills, including counting, computational fluency, and others you can see on the list. Most importantly, students are working on problem-solving techniques and strategies. We're very excited about the implementation of Number Corner at K2. Number Corner, like I said, is taught outside of the core math block. Number Corner is either a part of a student's math morning routine when they first come to school or a separate calendar time. Math in Focus is our core resource that is used during your student's math block. Math in Focus, with the subtitle Singapore Math by Marshall Cavendish, is adapted from Singapore's mathematical framework. As you may know, Singapore has typically done really well in math in recent years. They've scored at the top in recent TIMSS studies. Their mathematical framework has aims and objectives to ensure children's ability to achieve mastery of mathematical concepts, display confidence with computational skills, and strengthen problem solving. It functions under a unique framework that promotes creativity, critical thinking, and inquiry. The way this is introduced in Math in Focus is through a three-step representational model. Students begin with manipulatives and hands-on experiences to build a concrete understanding. Once students have a concrete understanding, they then move into visualization, and they begin to visualize concepts and represent them pictorially. This is called the representational. Lastly, students use abstract numbers and models when they have enough context to understand what they mean. This is the abstract method, and you will see this repeated throughout Math in Focus. Math in Focus framework draws on best practices and highlights problem solving as the key focus of mathematical learning, which is really the heart of the curriculum. If you look at the pentagon below, you can see that the heart of it, or the middle, is mathematical problem solving, and everything in the framework is built around it. Things including students' metacognition and self-recognition or self-regulation of learning, their reasoning and communication and thinking skills, of course, math concepts and skills, and then if you can see the last side is attitudes. This is where students are focusing on their appreciation for math, confidence, and also their perseverance, which relates back to the practice standards. But at the heart of this really is problem solving. I'm going to turn it over to Kristen, and she's going to talk a little bit about lesson structure. So let's take a look at the core resources. At home, these are the texts and journals that your students will be coming home with. In addition to the textbook and journals you've already seen, you might also have seen a home letter. This letter will come home prior to each lesson. As you can see, there's a family component that gives an overview of the concepts in the unit. There's some vocabulary to practice, and then some activities. This should give you an idea of what things will look like in class at school. But like I said, Kristen's going to talk more specifically about what your students are going to see in the classroom and talk about the structure of the lesson.
Each chapter begins with an opener, which is usually a comic introducing skills in the chapter. The Recall Prior Knowledge section is next, which includes problems that review prerequisite concepts. Each lesson has lesson objectives tied to the Common Core content standards. In addition, each chapter and lesson within the chapter ties in new vocabulary words. Down below is how this might look like in a classroom. Instructional Day 1 may begin with a brief teacher-led example, followed by guided practice, which allows students to check their understanding while working with guidance. This guidance may be among their peers in a group work setting or perhaps from the teacher. Instructional Day 2 may begin along the same way using a brief teacher-led example. This example may either strengthen skills from the previous day or build on to a skill. Guided practice would once again follow, which provides opportunities for teachers to constantly assess their students. The Let's Practice would be next, which consolidates learning. Students may be working on problems individually or with partners. This section prepares students for independent work in the On Your Own component. In this component, students will be working individually on problems out of the student workbook. This is an example of the chapter opener. The chapter opener previews what the chapter will teach and how it will be presented. This is a lesson taken from 5th grade chapter 3. The comic shows 3 children and their teacher exploring ways of sharing granola bars. In this chapter, students will begin to explore division problems and obtain answers that are fractions or mixed numbers. Next is the Recall Prior Knowledge section. This component allows teachers to perform a quick check to assess children's readiness to proceed. If you notice, the Recall Prior Knowledge section here focuses on like fractions having the same denominator and unlike fractions having different denominators. These 2 skills and several others will be seen in the Recall Prior section and will be applied throughout Chapter 3. Here is an example of how Lesson 3.1 begins. As you can see, the objectives are clearly stated, followed by the important vocabulary terms that are connected to the concepts and skills of the lesson. In addition, all the vocabulary is highlighted for easy reference. Let's take a moment and explore the special components within each lesson. At the very top is the problem of the lesson, which focuses on a specific skill or concept within the lesson. The Let's Explore provides opportunities for students to carry out investigative activities and to discuss alternative solutions to open-ended questions. The hands-on activity reinforces skills, concepts, and problem-solving strategies in small group or partner settings. The Math Journal offers opportunities for students to reflect on mathematical learning. Lastly, put on your thinking cap. These problems challenge students to solve non-routine type of questions. These types of problems draw on deep prior knowledge as well as newly acquired concepts, combining problem-solving strategies with critical thinking skills. These components will vary in how they are presented. So, for example, they can be incorporated during whole class instruction, completed individually or among a small group, or perhaps assigned as homework. We are now going to show you some ideas on what you could do at home to focus on helping your child with math.
Let's begin with some general strategies in helping your child with math. One way you can help your child with math is using open-ended questioning. Questions like, what have you tried so far? What could you try? Explain how you got your answer. Ask your child, is there another way? Or if they got an answer, is there another right answer? Sometimes asking your child just to explain whether their answer makes sense is also a helpful tool for parents when helping your child at home. I do want to mention something in regards to homework. We really want to make sure that your child is spending a reasonable time on their math homework. 2 hours is not a reasonable amount of time to spend on math homework. All teachers in District 30 want students to spend reasonable time. If you feel your child is spending an unreasonable time on homework too long, please contact your child's teacher. That might mean that the child needs some support or some strategies. We do not want children spending 2 hours or even an hour and a half on math homework. Talk to your teacher if you feel that your child is spending more time on homework. Let's talk about some more specific strategies to help your child. It's really important that you have a positive attitude towards math. This will help your child. If your child is, quote, stuck, offer strategies after asking the open-ended questions. Maybe ask them to draw a picture, make a table, look for patterns, work backwards, or even guess and check. Some children may benefit from acting it out. Other general support you can do is use math games, which you can access on our website. I'll show you that in a little while. You might ask your child to teach you how they learn the concept, because oftentimes things look a little bit different than maybe the way you learned it, and that's a really good strategy. In general, you can talk to your child about math in the real world situations, when you're at the grocery store, doing measuring for new carpeting, painting, just talking about your schedule as it relates to time, or even watching a sports game together. Something else that could help is our school librarians have worked really hard to align different library books with different concepts that are taught in Math in Focus. So your child could check out books from either the Willowbrook or Westcott Library that complement the topics that students are learning in math. So have your child ask the school librarian or contact them to help you find books that they can read that are about math topics that they're learning about.
One of the major focus points of the program is problem solving using bar models. Take a look at this specific problem. If you notice, it's a put on your thinking cap type of problem. As we had mentioned earlier, these problems require problem-solving strategies and application of critical thinking skills. This is taken from Grade 4, Chapter 3, and our goal is to find the cost of one television set. After reviewing the problem, you might think that you need algebra to solve this type of problem. If you notice, in steps 1 through 4, this is an algebraic way of solving the problem that you just viewed. This is a system, and you're solving for the unknown x and y, which in this case is the television set and the DVD player. However, algebra is not required to solve this problem. Actually, we can use bar models to obtain the answer. If you take a look at the solution using the bar model, you will notice that the model is structured in terms of cost. The model makes it clear that it takes 2 DVD players to equal the cost of 1 television. In order to obtain the answer for this problem, the bar model is split into equal parts. There are 7 equal parts that when added together are going to give you the total cost of $1,421. If you take that total cost, $1,421, and divide it by 7, you are going to obtain the answer $203, which is the cost of 1 DVD player. However, we didn't answer the question yet. We need to find the cost of 1 television. Looking at the model, again, we want to reinforce that 2 DVD players equal the cost of 1 television. So we're going to simply take 203 and multiply it by 2 to obtain $406, which is the cost of 1 television and the answer to the question. If students are using other strategies to successfully problem solve, they may continue to use those strategies. However, if the bar models are helpful, please keep these 2 items in mind. The size and proportion of the bar doesn't matter. Sometimes students can get hung up on this. In addition, students need to keep in mind that they need to be flexible. What I mean by this is that often at times, the original model that was created may have to be recreated and revised in order to fit the wording of the problem.
Let's take a look back at our school website to look at some resources that additionally might help you with bar modeling and other Math in Focus topics. So if you go back to the District 30 webpage, and you can go to either Willowbrook or you can go to Westcott. Remember, you're going to go to About, and then you're going to go to Math Links. And remember before, here's where I showed you the MathFact websites. Well, if you scroll down, you can see down here we have Math and Focus websites. And underneath that, we have bar modeling tutorials and practice websites. So here are some additional places that you might go for extra practice, problem solving using the bar models. We have Singapore math sites and even a YouTube video that might help you. Another resource that you have at home to help your students is through Think Central. This is a service that we have paid for to give you online access to many of your student resources. I'm going to show you how to log into Think Central and some of the things that are available there to help support your student at home. As a reminder, you can always start at the District 30 webpage, go to your school's webpage. We're going to always follow the same steps. Go to About, go to Math Links, and we're going to scroll down here where it says Math and Focus websites. And the Think Central website, it says to access your digital textbook, workbook, background videos, virtual manipulatives, and interactivities. So you're going to click on this website. You're going to choose your state, School District 30, choose your school, and then you're going to log in. Your students will receive login information from their classroom teacher. Once you've logged in, after you've selected your school and typed in your password and your username, click Login, and you will then be at the Think Central website. Where your resources are going to be are in My Library. So you're going to go up here to where it says My Library. And when you click on that, these are all the resources that are available to you to help your student. You're immediately going to notice your student edition. This is your student's textbook, all available online, and your student's workbook. Let's have a quick look at what the student textbook will look like. So here you can see we are in the table of contents, and you can type in the page number down here to navigate the pages that you want to go to. So here I'm on page 67. Let's also take a look at the workbook. So as you can see here, you access the table of contents, and then you can just click on the chapter, and it opens the PDF of each page in your child's workbook. So you now can access everything at home. So even if they forget their workbook or textbook at school, you'll now have access to it at home for support. Some other great resources that you'll have are background videos. These videos are created for each chapter, and they will give you an overview of the content in the chapter that your son or daughter is learning in school. Let's take a look at a video. This is a 5th grade unit, so let's take a look at chapter 3, which is coming up.
Your students have already learned something about the concepts of like, unlike, and equivalent fractions. Now they will learn to add and subtract unlike fractions and mixed numbers, and to estimate their sums and differences. The Singapore approach uses concrete pictorial approaches. For example, students use...
So I'm not going to play the whole video. I just wanted to give you a snippet, an idea of what the background videos look like. So as you can see, it gives a little bit of an introduction. It goes over the learning objectives. Next, there's a clip on topic overviews. And then lastly, it's going to give you some helpful tips for the unit. Let's have a quick look.
Use the common denominator and equivalent fractions to add unlike fractions. They use a number line to estimate the sum by approximating each fraction to the closest benchmarks. They can use the same approach for subtracting unlike fractions. Benchmarks help to illustrate the difference between fractions. Students use concrete and pictorial approaches to rewrite division expressions as fractions and mixed numbers. And they use the partition of the long division method to write the expressions as mixed numbers.
So again, we're not going to watch the whole video, but it just gives you a little idea of some topic overviews. Lastly, let's take a look at the tips.
Students who are new to Math in Focus would benefit from the fraction concepts taught in Math in Focus grades 3 and 4. Teachers should make an effort to help students consistently draw and/or visualize models. Independent work, such as that on page 144, can be very challenging for students. Simplify numbers used to make these questions more accessible.
So all of those videos, again, can be accessed in the Math in Focus background videos. Again, an overview, some helpful tips, and other little hints that could be useful as a parent to help your child at home. There are two other things we're going to look at that are available on this website. One is the student interactivities, and lastly, we'll take a look at the virtual manipulatives. The student interactivities, think of these as games. Fun interactive things that students can do to practice. And if you look at the bottom, it says it's correlation to the chapters. So they come in the areas of number sense, numbers in operation, shapes and patterns and displays, and measurement. And if you're wondering how to decide what to do, you can click on the correlation chart. And it'll tell you for your grade which topics relate to which tutorials and quizzes within the chapter. So the first ones are related to whole numbers, then it tells you which ones go with fractions. So that could give you an idea of which ones you might want to point your students towards in a given chapter. So let's have a look at some of these. So let's say your student is working on comparing numbers within 10 million.
River crossing. Help Mother Hen and her little chicks cross the river by arranging the numbers in ascending or descending order. You can drag any two numbers to the Compare tool to compare the numbers. Arrange the numbers in order, beginning with the smallest.
Okay, so as I arrange the numbers in order, beginning with the greatest, then I will click over here. There's a button that says Done, and it will tell me if I need to make any changes or if I'm correct.
Incorrect. Try again.
So it says that I need to try again. So looking at my answer, I need to figure out which ones I need to rearrange. So I'll go ahead and do that.
Very good. Arrange the numbers in order, beginning with the smallest.
Good. Oh my gosh.
Let's take a look at another game. So I'm not recording now because I feel like I should key in the answer. So this is, I would say 51, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then 0.009, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what you would do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I would do 7.
again. Try again. Check out the right answer. Well done!
So you could continue playing, and as you can see, if you get the answer correct, it gives you a chance to try again. If you get it incorrect more than once, it gives you the correct answer. If you get the correct answer, it gives you some positive reinforcement. In addition to the games, you also have virtual manipulatives. So as you can see here, we have counters, number lines, fraction bars. Let's have a look. So some manipulatives, which are great. And it shows down here what they are. Let's have a look at something else. So here's a number line. Gives you some activities. Let's say we want to do some skip counting. Let's say we want to start at 10 and skip count by 5s, and let's say we're going to go to 20. So some interactive things here that you can look at. So you have access to lots of virtual manipulatives that may help you with your child with their homework. We hope you will find access to all of these online resources through Think Central and through the District 30 website to be extremely helpful. Thank you. We hope you have found tonight's presentation to be very helpful.